to finally listen to his constituents and start to bring an end to the Iraq War. More and more polls indicate that over 70% of Americans are against the war in Iraq, and as an Iraq-era veteran, I have seen the continued strain the President's reckless Iraq war policies have put on our military and their families. The military always has it tough during wartime, but with Representative Walsh continuing to shield the President's failed policy, extended tours, repeated deployments, and time home cut short, it has become particularly difficult on our military. The President talks about supporting the troops and the continual progress in Iraq. Well, Mr. President, as one who recently was one of those troops, I can tell you that you are not living up to your end of the bargain. Clinging to a failed policy of sending more and more American men and women into this war rather than an immediate withdrawal is not supporting the troops. By sending even more of our men and women to war without the proper training and equipment they need, and breaking commitments to the troops by extending deployments, it's letting our soldiers down and failing to support our country's veterans. The military has been stretched so thin by this unending war that the Army has had to extend deployments from the typical 12 months to 15 months. That means an additional 3 months of mothers and fathers being away from their children, our brave troops spending more time in harm's way, and ultimately more New Yorkers coming home in body bags. After more than 7 months of this unsuccessful surge, over 678 more Americans dead, it is time for Representative Walsh to go back to Washington and vote with New Yorkers. He needs to accept the reality of the situation in Iraq and listen to American people. Representative Walsh, following President Bush's policies and obstructing an end to our involvement in the civil war in Iraq, will not be forgotten by Central New Yorkers come November 2008. To Representative Walsh's credit, he recently voted in support of H.R. 3159, calling for a mandatory 12-month stabilization period between deployments. However, with a force level of over 161,000 currently in country, out of an active duty force of about 500,000, anyone with basic math skills can see that this is not a sustainable bill. As a veteran with many friends still serving, I salute his vote on this bill and his recent letter to the White House calling for a change in strategy. But these subtle shifts in his position don't go far enough. Central New Yorkers are crying out to their leaders to change our policy in Iraq and start to bring our troops home. Representative Walsh has shown that he's beginning to become frustrated by the stalemate Bush's failed policy has gotten us into, but he needs to begin to back some legislation with teeth. Representative Walsh needs to realize that he represents what is becoming more and more an anti-war district. There is a peace surge underway in this country, and leading the charge are many of the thousands of Americans who have comrades serving in Iraq like myself. It is not just a small group of activists calling for an end to this war. It is soldiers and veterans and millions of families all across our entire country rejecting the President's reckless policies. Americans are firmly against the war in Iraq, but our President and his allies in Congress continue to ignore our voices and stumble backward with their failed policy, completely out of touch with America. Representative Walsh needs to decide if his loyalty is with the President and the group that got us into this mess, or with the people that he's supposed to be representing.